there my lovelies, and welcome to my BookTube channel, The Sassy Library Fox. My name is V, and today we're going for my November wrap-up video. I'm very early with recording all of my videos before the year's over and before the holidays are here, because I know I'm going to be super busy once the holidays approach. So there's that. I got my coffee at the ready. I got my sheets to tell you about the 4 books I read in November. It was a really great reading month. I might not have read the books I wanted to read, but I was a total mood reader in November and I just gave into my cravings and just read what I wanted to read. So I think I should do that more often. But I'm always trying to keep the mood reader in me in check. Maybe I should give into my mood reader side more often. Maybe I would read more if I do that. I will try to do that in 2025 for sure. And will hopefully be able to read or to mood read more often. So I got my coffee at the ready, I got my cheat sheets, and I guess let's just do this. Let's talk about the books I read in November. And November already started very strong with In the Middle of Somewhere by Roan Parrish. And this book was really great. I rated it 4.5 paws, which is a real high rating for me. It just didn't get that tiny half paw because the intimate scenes were a little bit unrealistic. These days I really have trouble to overlook things like that, so 4.5 paws it is. But as for what the book was about, we basically have Daniel, and Daniel is a teacher and he has a job interview in the middle of nowhere in a little small town, and hopes that he's going to nail that job interview because there aren't a lot of other options for his future job. And after the job interview, he drives home and, well, he accidentally hits an animal which turns out to be a dog. And he's in the middle of nowhere, it's snowing, he has no idea where he needs to go to find a vet. And then all of a sudden there is a mysterious hunk of a man that leads him to his cabin and helps him with the dog and with taking care of the dog, and takes care of him as well because apparently he hurt himself in the accident too. But his whole concern was for the dog. So Daniel is really such a precious being. He is a teacher with a lot of tattoos and with quite the sassy mouth on him. I loved him from the beginning. He is the only boy in his family that's gay, which caused him to get a lot of shit from all of his other family members. They didn't take well to him being gay, and since his mother died years ago, there's only his father and his, I think it were 3 brothers, that all work at his father's garage, and he was the only one who wanted to become a teacher. He's gay, so yeah, you get the idea of the family dynamics. And Rex, the guy who brought him to his cabin and who helped him, is a carpenter and handyman of some sorts in that small town and helps out whenever it's needed, and lives a very secluded life, has not a lot of friends, and yeah, I really liked Rex as well, and those two, they kind of hit it off, but then there doesn't happen a lot, and then Daniel moves to that small town and things get interesting from there on out. I'm not gonna spoil anything. It was a great read. I loved how Daniel and Rex got to know each other and started to trust each other with things, and it was really nice. It was such a lovely book, very wholesome, also Christmas vibey, because a huge part of the book plays in winter. And yeah, there are 3 books in this series, but book 2 and 3 have other main characters in focus, so that's very interesting. I might check out book 2 soon. I really like that one. It came highly recommended from a dear friend of mine, so thank you to that friend. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 paws, so that says a lot about my enjoyment. Then the second book I read in November, which was totally on my to-be read and very #mood reader of me, is Sticks and Stones by Abigail Roux and Madeleine Urban. Sticks and Stones. It was so nice to be back with Ty Grady and with Zane Garrett, and their dynamic is still impeccable. I love those 2 men so much, but after the first book they had quite a lot of things to work through, and they are both not really ready to go back into the line of duty, which is the reason their boss sends them on vacation. And Zane has no idea where he is supposed to go. He is not really close with his family anymore, and yeah, friends, well, he doesn't have a lot of friends either. And Ty decides he's going to visit his family. So Ty takes Zane with him. They are kind of, well, they have a bumpy relationship at the moment because neither of them knows how to process the happenings of the first book. They are both kind of traumatized. Yeah, you might say it like that. And then they go on a vacation to Ty's family. And Ty's family is really interesting. He has a brother named Doyce, I think you pronounce it like that. And his father's name is Earl and his mom is Mara. And Mara was a really no-nonsense kind of woman, and I loved it about her. And Doyce apparently is a psychiatrist, so that's good, I think. It helps a lot with Zane's mental problems to have Doyce near him and to talk things through with him. And well, Ty's father, Zane, and his brother, Ty's brother I may add, go on a trek in the mountains. And well, of course, Ty and Zane can't have a quiet vacation and stumble upon people that are up to no good. Let's put it that way. And from there on out, it's pure survival in the wilderness and trying to get back to civilization. Yeah, it was quite the wild ride. I loved how the author tackled Ty's and Zane's psychological problems in that environment and how they seem to get worse only to get better in the end, if you know what I mean. It was done so well and it fit with the plot perfectly, and I loved it. I gotta admit, Earl has a lot of really groveling. Earl has a lot of groveling to do now. And poor Ty, I hope Ty will get over that and bounce back once again. I love Ty Grady. He's one of my favorite MCs ever. Okay, but I rated that one 5 paws. I couldn't give it any less because it was just great. It was extremely suspenseful. Zane and Ty are 2 amazing MCs. I loved how they worked through their problems and tried to understand where each other was coming from. And it was just great. It was done so well. Okay, so before I go to the third book, let me take a sip here. I need it. I've been so tired those last couple of weeks. There is a lot going on before Christmas. Lots of stress at work, in private life and in general. So I need my coffee. Anyway, let's head to the third book I read in November, and it was Bias, a K-pop romance by Roux. I wanted to read that one for ages. I think I already made 2 videos about it, or at least 2 videos in which I mentioned that book. It's basically about a girl named Madison, and Madison is from America. She loves Korean culture, K-pop culture, and she also learned the language. She speaks it fluently, which is very amazing for a foreigner. And she moved to Korea, South Korea at that, to, well, study the language even more, to get to know the food, to have a great time, because it was what she wanted to do for a very long time. So she's there, knows no one except of her work colleagues, and one of them kind of recommended a restaurant to her. So she decides she has enough of homemade noodles and all the instant food you can get, and actually wants to eat real food after a couple of weeks in Korea. So she goes to that restaurant, and in that restaurant she stumbles upon a boy, her bias, from her favorite band. And she is really flabbergasted and doesn't know what to say. And the waitress tells her that this is only a restaurant for 2 people and that they don't take single people, which seems to be a thing in Korea, I don't know. So the strangest thing happens, and Woo-young, her bias, tells the waitress that he was a little bit late and that they are together and actually eating together. So they get taken to a seat, and at first it's a little bit awkward, but then they strike up a conversation about food. I love that. They bonded totally over food, and all the delicious food that was mentioned in this book made me so hungry. Honestly, I want to go to South Korea and eat all those things as well. And Madison and Woo-young become friends and meet for dinner. She gets to know his bandmates and everything, and it was really like a K-drama, and I loved it. I think it's basically everyone's K-pop fans' dream to stumble upon your bias and idol and to just have a friendly chat with them and to talk with them normally. At least it's my dream. I would love to meet BTS and to just talk about food with them or their favorite movies, hobbies, whatever. It would be so much fun and so nice to be a part of that group dynamic. And in this book, this is actually happening. I loved it. I loved every second of it. It was a really short book, so that was on the contra side. I would really have liked to have it a little bit more elaborate and a little bit longer. Aside of that, I really liked how they portrayed Madison, because Madison was a fan that really cared about her idols, and she didn't want to make things bad for Woo-young and his band. She just wanted them to be successful and not to worry about her, which was amazing, because I think I would be the same. I wouldn't want a scandal for BTS to come out. I would really just like to be friends with them, and yeah, I would stay clear of them as well if people would have found out about us. So Madison was a really relatable character. Her inner conflict of being a fan of the band for years, but then also getting to know them as normal people and befriending them was done so well. I've never seen that done in a K-pop book like that before. So I really appreciated that approach. Also that there are fans out there that would just love to be friends with their idols and not more. I mean, obviously, Madison and Wu Young developed feelings for each other, but they bonded through food and they became friends long before anything else might have happened or happened. So yeah, that was great. I really liked that book and I give it 4 paws because it was almost perfect. Almost. Yeah, I still have to find the perfect K-pop romance when it comes to straight couples, because when it comes to gay couples, I already found it. Idol Moves, the Idol series by KT Salvo, is definitely done perfectly when it comes to queer K-pop idols. Anyway, let's come to the last book I read in November, and it was This Fatal Kiss by Alicia Jasinska. And I rated that one with 4.5 paws because it was great. I loved it. I read that one for Rainbow Ween and only finished it in November. I started it in October, but it's a really long book. It took me quite a while to get through it, but it was so great. We have Gisela, who is a water nymph, and we have Kasich, I think you pronounce him Kasich, who is an exorcist, or the local exorcist of the town they live in. And we have Alexei, a boy. And Gisela is a water nymph. She suddenly became one a year ago. She doesn't know how it happened, what happened with her. She can't remember anything from that night. All she knows is that she suddenly woke up as a water nymph. But you only become a water nymph if something really bad happened to you. And yeah, she knows something must have really gone wrong, but she doesn't know what happened exactly. And she wants to become a human again. And rumor has it that the only way for a water nymph to become a human is to kiss a human boy. So she sets her eyes on Alexei, a cute boy with 2 different eyes, or the colors of his eyes are different, one green, one blue, and he is very huge and gentle, and she likes it about him, and she wants him to kiss her to become human again. So all her plans to kiss people are butchered by none other than Kasich, the local exorcist and witch boy. After the death of his grandmother, he is alone in the small town and tries to protect people from relentless spirits and yeah, also water nymphs and everything that's in the woods, bees for instance, which are demons that can possess people. Anyway, he has a lot of things to do. His plate is totally full and Gisela doesn't make it easy for him. So for some reason, when he wants to exercise her for good, his powers don't work anymore. And they both kind of strike a deal that he's going to help her find a boy to kiss and that she won't tell the others that his powers are waning. Yeah, so far so good. But the interesting thing is Kasich gets closer to Alexei while he tries to get Gisela close to Alexei, and Gisela and Kasich get closer as well. Honestly, I've never rooted for a throuple as hard as for those 3. Those 3 were amazing together, they complemented each other so well, and quite honestly, Kasich is my precious boy. I loved him so much. He's really this fierce, small ball of power, but also very lonely and insecure. and I loved Kasich so much. And I love that Gisela and Alexei had so much respect for him and his powers. And it was just, those three were amazing. The ending was very suspenseful. It had me at the edge of my seat, and I just wanted to know what would happen next, but also it was very unexpected. I don't know, it was kind of unexpected, but then again it wasn't, if you know what I mean. I'm not making any sense here, but this book was great. I loved all the folklore that was mentioned in here, from the beasts that are wood monsters or demons that possess people, from the water nymphs and how they lived and how they became water nymphs, and all the other spirits and demons that were mentioned in the book. It was done so well. The world building was so rich. It was just amazing. I can highly recommend this. Also, if you're taking part in Rainbowween next year, this is a perfect book for it. It ticks off a lot of prompts and it was just great. I highly recommend that one. What I didn't know when I went into that book was the fact that it's actually the first book in a series, apparently, because the ending is very open and there could be a second book. I don't think the author affirmed it yet, but the way it ended, I get a feeling that there might be a second book coming. Yeah. So I rated that one very highly as well. I gave it 4.5 paws because it was almost perfect. So yeah, I don't give away my 5 paws that easily. There's always something that kind of keeps me from giving those 5 paws. It rarely happens, but it does sometimes. So that's it. That's my November wrap up. I read so many great books in November. I enjoyed them all. They were all great in their own way. I was glad I gave into the mood reader inside of me because I needed that. I just needed to mood read whatever I wanted, and I was through those books in no time. I didn't have a lot of time to read in November, but the books I read had me so engaged that I actually finished them once I had time to read them and sit down. So there's that. I would really love to hear which kind of books you read in November. Did you read some of the books I read? Did you rate them highly? Did you get curious about some of them after I spoke about them? I would really love to hear your thoughts. You can always write them down in the comments below. As you all know, I always check them and respond. And well, I guess we're already at the ending of my video and there's nothing left to say except of take care, stay healthy and safe, and see you around the next time. Bye!